Do you believe God is... So let's say we were to quantify God's power, yeah?
Yes.
Would you get a number which is like literally infinite, or would you get one that just seems to be infinite? Like, would it be an actual infinite
as in
number?
God would be the infinite where numbers cannot even fathom what the
So,
infinite
okay,
is.
so it's an actual infinite then, yeah?
Yes.
Okay,
If
so
that's what
if
you call
that's...
it.
So if there's infinity split between 7 billion people, yeah?
It's undefined.
So if there's an infinite source of power, which you define as God, split
Yes.
between 7 billion people, then all of us would also have infinite power. And if that's the case, could you make my light fall on my head right now? Because you have infinite power, because God is within you and God is infinite. And you have a shared infinity, which means you're infinite.
Okay. You're asking a nonsensical question. So I'll explain to you why. You're asking a question that you're putting an infinite in a non-finite existence. So this realm that we're in, okay, this dimension that we're in, it's a three-dimensional realm. This is a finite existence. This universe is finite. It's not infinite. The realm of God, and the existence of God in Jasa, and what God exists in, is infinite. It's interdimensional. It's beyond what you can comprehend. In that realm, God exists within the infinite. This is the ego realm. This is the realm of the simulation, the hologram. This is an existence realm. This is a realm God has just created to play his game or her game in whichever way he wants. God is also within you as well, but God is lost. You're very intelligent. I'm glad you jumped on. Your brain is very intelligent, but you're very unconscious. But that God, we can wake that up. As long as you're intelligent, we can wake that up. The problem is when somebody hasn't got the intelligence, it's ridiculous to wake them up. At least you're asking the right questions. So God is within all of us, okay? He's playing the game in different ways.
Sorry. Could you answer the question else, please?
Sorry, say that again.
Could you answer the question else, please? You pivoted to a separate point.
Go ahead. Yes. Sorry.
The question was that you said God was infinite, yeah?
Yes.
And God is within every single one of us.
Yes.
And God has infinite power. Therefore, every single one of us has infinite power also.
No.
Why not?
So, again, God has infinite power. What is power?
But you said God is within you.
Yes, but
power is the ability to do
this
stuff.
is a deeper now. Let me hey, chill. It's okay. It's okay, boy. It's okay. All right, so it's okay. It's nobody, man. Yeah. So again, this is a deep. Let me answer it. Okay, give me 2 minutes.
No worries.
You
Take your
mentioned
time.
things. One, you mentioned. I'm gonna simplify it. One, you mentioned is power. First, there is no power unless again it's from Jasa. True power comes from strength. Strength only ever comes from Jasa. Strength, again, from your understanding, from a human understanding, it would be from an English perspective. If I broke it down, true strength only comes from love. Strength never comes from the absence of love, which is things like evil or hatred or I don't know, fear. And it's always finite. It's never eternal. It's never true. It's fake unless it comes from love. Okay, so again, power itself only comes from Jasa, from God, in the dimension of God. Power is not here. What power is here? What we call power is subjective only to our living standards. There is no true power here. So you cannot contemplate the power of the infinite in the interdimensional realm of God into this physical plane simulation realm. Do you understand? So, again, God's infinite power doesn't exist in the physical realm, which is why we are locked in our egos. We are finite beings. If we became infinite beings, or if you had the infinite capacity, this whole universe would be nonsensical. It would have no logic, no rationality, no fundamental laws. Everything would be nonsensical. So that's why God has created a bunch of physical laws, foundational laws, which we abide by physics. We are the only faith that, not even faith, we are the only philosophy that abides by science. Why? Because within this realm that we live in this universal realm, infinity cannot exist. Only finite access is open for you to comprehend, because this realm itself is finite. So trying to comprehend or trying to get God's infinite power into this realm is nonsensical. It's like asking, can God be inherently evil? No, he cannot. It's nonsensical. God cannot be inherent. Can God be loving and have a hellfire like what Muslims believe? No, he cannot. That's fucking ridiculous.
Why is it wrong to burn someone eternally, by the way? Just a simple question. Why is that wrong?
For God.
Why is it wrong for anyone to do that? Can you prove that?
Well, again, I personally cannot burn somebody for eternally. Only God can, because only again God can work with the infinite or the eternal
Yeah,
times.
that's a
So
separate point, but okay.
are you saying why would it be wrong
I'm
for me
saying, why
to
would it be
burn
morally
something?
wrong? Yeah, why would it be morally wrong for you to
Because
do that?
it's a conscious sentient
But
being, and I'm
why is
taking
it
its
okay?
life away. I'm putting
Let's
it
just
through
stop with
misery.
let's
I'm putting it through
dispense
torture.
let's dispense with like all the philosophical jargon here. Let's just get straight to it. Why is it wrong to harm someone objectively? Because you claim to be a man of science. Why is that objectively wrong?
Because you're bringing harm to a conscious life.
I know you're bringing harm to a conscious life. That's the premise we've previously
Yes,
established. But why is that morally wrong, though?
because God exists within them, and you shouldn't harm that life because God exists within them, and you should respect any life form that has God within them. Any life
How
form
would
that
you
has God within them, you should respect yourself enough to know what you are to not harm any life form, whether it's an animal that's a bacteria or a mosquito or a human being. You shouldn't be harming anything that
how
isn't causing harm, or at least
how yeah how do you objectively prove that God exists within a bacteria? How do you objectively
because it has life in it.
how do
Nothing
you
can create
objectively
life. Nothing can create life from something that is non-existent or
what does life
something
mean?
that is a material, something that has no life. You can never make this object here
What
and
does
turn
life
it
mean?
into life.
What does life mean?
Life is anything that has consciousness
How do you know a bacteria has consciousness?
because it moves, it feeds, it communicates with other bacteria around
There
it.
was a
Did
study
you
done on it that shows that
It
it
has
doesn't function.
cells. Come on, man, this is
cool? Do
simple,
you
bro.
yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
disagree with you. I
Okay.
was
Okay.
just
Go ahead.
asking why you define it like that. I
Okay.
didn't say
Sorry.
you
Go
can't
ahead.
define it like that. Okay, do you
Go
apply
ahead.
the
Go
same
ahead.
logic to a leaf?
Sorry. Say that again.
Do you apply the same logic to a leaf?
Not really, no, because again, the leaf is not alive. Like
But
it doesn't have
No, leaf
the
is
leaf has
alive.
a very intricate system by which
It
it
does. It does.
transports
It
water
does.
around it, and it's got awareness of the
Yeah,
water, and it
the
opens
leaf
up.
is still alive. The leaf is still alive as well.
It
By your
is.
definition, it's alive.
Yeah,
In
exactly.
that
It is
way,
Look,
I
conscious.
mean, if
life, it doesn't have any
look,
subjective.
look,
It can't.
look,
It can't.
Look, you've
It
admitted a
doesn't.
bacteria is alive.
let
Just
me
Yeah,
say a
if
leaf
you
is
admit
alive as well.
bacteria is alive, then you have to admit that a leaf is alive as well because
Right,
it's
of
It doesn't
also
course.
have any
got living
subjective
cells.
property.
listen. A
Yeah, I'm listening.
bacteria, a bacteria, a bacteria is a little bit different to a plant. An animal life is different to a plant. You got to understand that a plant doesn't live like an animal does. A plant just basically does simple functions where it basically takes in takes in carbon dioxide and it expels oxygen. It doesn't have any type of life. It doesn't move and go places. It doesn't live like an animal does. Do you understand? So you
Yeah, but
cannot harm.
yeah,
Again,
I know.
look. Let me
But
answer it, please.
yeah,
Let me
yeah,
answer it. Let me get to it.
yeah,
So
yeah.
harming a plant, as in if you're comparing harming a plant to an animal's harm, you got to look at it objectively and understand that this is an animal, this is a plant. Like if I just cut this leaf in half, is it bad compared to me cutting another animal in half?
No,
Not,
bacteria,
not. Let me
bacteria.
explain. Not really. But is it bad for me to cut down this whole rainforest, or is it bad for me to kill 100,000 cows? It's more immoral for me to cut down this rainforest because objectively it brings more life to this whole planet. It gives more positive effects for this whole world to live more, or it expels more oxygen, it stores more carbon, it has more life within it. Even though there's 100,000 cattle here, they're actually causing more harm to the environment. They're causing more harm to people that consume the cows. You have to think of it on a much more objective level, as I say. Do you understand? Do you
Yeah,
understand?
yeah. But my question was that because the definition you laid out of life, that would
Yeah.
qualify for a leaf
Yeah, it would.
because you said awareness,
Yes.
ability to respond to the environment,
Yes.
changing. I don't know, you laid out some very vague criteria, but a leaf has every single one of those. More.
No. I agree. I mean, plants were the first living
So a
species that
leaf,
existed on.
so a
Yes,
leaf does have life.
but again, the life that exists in the plant is not the same as the life that can exist in a sentient
But how
animal.
do you measure that? How do you measure that?
How do you measure that?
Based on how they can comprehend consciousness again. How does a plant react to a certain thing?
How do you know? How do
Let
you
me
know a
explain
bacteria
something.
is conscious?
So let me give you a test. You can read. You can research this now. Are you on a PC?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me open
Okay.
up a sec.
Let me explain to you. Hold on. So again, we use science to always
That's
back
an
up
interesting
our.
question, to be honest.
Which one?
Nah, the one that we just asked about the leaf and the bacteria, because there is no difference.
Yeah, because
There
you
is,
got to
of course.
apply the.
Would you? Of
No,
course, there's a difference. How you can't compare a leaf to a
there's
bacteria,
a
bro.
Yeah,
You
difference.
but
come
There's
from
a
a
there is a
difference.
bacteria.
difference. They're
You
both
don't
like
come from a
first
plant.
density
A
consciousness.
plant can't give birth to one of us.
Yeah, there's a difference, but the difference doesn't correspond with the criteria you laid out for
Yeah.
life. That's
No,
the problem.
maybe I got confused a bit, but I even broke down that if you cut down a rainforest, it's worse than killing 100,000 cattle. So I broke it down to you like that as well, and
Is
I
it
Okay.
worse
told
to
you
kill?
that it's
That's
more immoral to
well,
destroy these plants on a
Oh wait, let me just
mass
ask you a
scale.
question. I'm not trying to act in bad faith. Is it worse to chop down one tree or kill two human beings? Is it worse to chop down two trees or kill one human being? Sorry.
It's worse to kill two. Sorry, it's worse to chop down one tree.
Is it worse to chop down 5 trees or kill 6 human beings
It's worse to chop down 5 trees.
than
It's
kill six
worse
human
to
beings?
chop down. It's worse to chop down a small forest than it's killing 100,000 human beings.
So you know a kid who has malaria.
Sorry.
A kid who has malaria.
Yes.
He's got many, like, I think he's got bacteria. So let's assume he's got bacteria cells living on his body.
Yep.
Is it wrong to cure that person because you're killing more bacteria cells than bringing life to the kid?
Not necessarily.
But you're killing more consciousness than you're bringing alive.
Yeah, but
If it's a 1-to-1 ratio, it'd be worse to.
on an objective level, this human being in the long term can cause harm to this environment, to the world around it. He could cause mass killings of other species or other plants. So in fact, the bacteria is actually doing great. To be honest,
So you shouldn't cure the kid with malaria.
Let me make my point. The human being is the worst species that exists on this planet.
Oh, you're one of them, yeah? Oh
Yeah,
no.
so
That's a very bad ideology. That's a very, very
it's
bad
not bad
ideology.
ideology. I can comprehend it and I can bring it to truth, bro. I can prove it to you. Objectively, think about it. Objectively, what is the purpose of any life form that exists on this earth?
Sorry, say that again. Sorry, I didn't hear it.
Objectively, what is the purpose of every life form that exists on this earth?
to
Would you agree
survive.
that is to live?
To serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the creator of the universe. That's your purpose.
That doesn't make sense. Would
Why
you
does that not
agree?
make sense?
You're asking so many scientific questions and then you jump to this silliness.
Why not? Why can I not believe that? Well, I've got evidence for it as well, but that's a separate
What
topic.
evidence do you have?
I have a plethora. I've got historical, scientific, numerical predictions from the Quran and Sunnah. But this is a separate point.
This new generation, we never used to have this 10 years ago because your parents and the fathers that grew you up. But through their indoctrination, you lot are now studying science and you're still stuck in this Islam. And it's always Pakistanis or Bengalis because you lot.
I'm Indian. What are you talking? Okay, let's stop with the racial.
No, it's not racial, bro.
Of course it is.
This is true. And
you're making a racial distinction. Can we not do that? Because it's not got nothing to do with race, right?
What was the question before? It's great that you asked me all these questions, though.
The question before, would you apply? Yeah, would you apply?
What I was getting to.
Right, yeah, because you defined life as the ability to be aware of the environment and to respond to it, right? So I said, would you apply the same thing to a leaf?
What do you mean? Sorry,
because you said that a life is defined by the ability to respond to the environment and the ability to understand it and the ability to react and have reactions which correspond to the environment, right?
Or move, or even move, just simply move.
Yeah, whatever. But then I'm saying to you that a leaf fits those criteria equally than a bacteria does.
Yeah.
So that was the question. Yeah, that's what we came off of. Because yes, no, the last question was okay. And then you pivoted.
And we were just getting to the. I just explained to you that you know, even if a malaria or bacteria was killing a child.
Yeah, and you said you wouldn't. Yeah, so I'm just telling you that that's a very bad ideology because you're degrading human life that way.
Why? Why is it a bad ideology?
Because you're degrading human life.
Ideology?
Because you're degrading human life.
Huh?
You're saying human life is not worth preserving. Like
no, it's not because it's not necessarily. If on an objective level that child has no purpose and is causing harm to the environment.
Oh my God!
If, for example, it becomes a Muslim and it just kills at least one cow every year for the next 40 years during Ramadan, that's over 40 animals that are being killed. Who knows how? That's just the minimum. Let's just add in as well. Every 3 days a week, he's gonna eat meat.
Okay.
He doesn't really care about the environment. He's got a hateful attitude towards other people. He believes that a 54-year-old having sex with a 9-year-old is okay.
Why is that wrong?
And so forth. You believe that this person has any type of purpose over the bacteria that could have swallowed him up.
Why is that wrong, though?
What do you mean, what's wrong?
Why is it morally, objectively, empirically wrong for a 54-year-old to have sex with a 9-year-old?
Because it's unconscious. It's ridiculous. He could. Why didn't he adopt her?
What? That doesn't answer the question.
Why did he not adopt her? Because he acted in his ego. He wanted to have sex with her. That's why he married her. Instead, he could have adopted her, not had sex with her, raised her as a child if he was more of a moral person.
Wait.
If he looked at it as love instead of the ego, which is sex, he would have said, you know what? Through love, I can adopt this child. I'm 51 years old. She's 6. Let me not marry her because I'm trying to set an example, which is what I'm doing. I've stopped having fivesomes and foursomes because I'm setting an example now. I want to stop that. So now I've stopped having threesomes with models, and now I'm trying to stop that. And now I'm becoming a good man. So he should have thought about that, and he should have thought to himself, I'm about to marry a 6-year-old. Why don't I just adopt her instead? But instead, he had to marry and have sex with her and start raping her from the age of 9. That's why it's immoral. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I can answer that, all right? Because we're having a conversation, yeah?
Okay.
Okay, so the answer to that question, by ulama, would be that adopting somebody doesn't give the same rights and doesn't give the same responsibilities and doesn't provide the same dynamic of relationship as marrying somebody, which is why throughout history, kings didn't adopt their wives, they married their wives.
Yeah, but a 9-year-old shouldn't be given that responsibility of the wife.
What was that, sorry?
Wouldn't you agree that a 9-year-old shouldn't be given the responsibility of a wife? That's wrong as well.
I'm asking you how you can objectively prove that's wrong.
Because after he died, Aisha went to war with Ali. Yes or no?
That was caused by the Khawarij, though.
It doesn't matter. If what he did was right, why did they go to war? As soon as Muhammad died, the Sunni and Shia faction broke up.
No, it wasn't as soon as he died. It was quite a while after the Shia developed, but whatever. The reason why Aisha went to war with Ali...
So why did they go to war with Muhammad's second favorite wife? His child wife.
And I can actually give you a very good answer because I've heard this directly from Mufti. So, hear it. What happened was the Khawarij murdered Uthman radiallahu anhu, yeah? And obviously Umar, I can't remember, one of the two. And then based off of that, those Khawarij developed into 2 camps, and one the camp of Aisha radiallahu anha, and the other one went into the camp of Ali. And the Khawarij caused fighting, and then they went to war, like that.
They were doing so well up until now, man.
What?
The Khawarij, I thought you knew about Islam and the Khawarij. You know the Khawarij, right?
Bro, what is this? Do you not understand what he just said?
Yeah,
Bro, you're doing so well up until now, man. Leave Islam out of it. You're doing really well up until now. You're asking good questions as well.
You know what?
I
I
agree
thought
with as
he
well.
was an atheist. And the moment he said the purpose of life of all animals is to worship Allah, I was like, oh, he's one of them ones. It's mad.
No, listen, I agree with a lot of stuff you're saying, to be honest, Ziad, but I disagree completely that, you know, if you believe in Islam, if you're saying that should be your objective morality should come from Islam,
I didn't say that's the only purpose to life. I said that's one of the purposes to life.
Guys, I got 1 minute 57. I'll jump back on. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, calm. Right. We'll claim that we need to base it off love, yeah? Why not hate? Why? What objective distinction do you have between love and hate that qualifies love and doesn't qualify hate?
Bro, come on, man. Hate is, bro. How can you base morality on hate?
I can say the same thing about religion. I really feel like Islam is true, therefore it's true.
How can you base morality on hate? How do you do that?
Hitler did that. Can you tell me why he was wrong? Objective.
No, he didn't. Bro, come on, man. What is this, man?
You don't think Hitler...
Bro, the man that you believe, how can you ask these questions and then still be a Muslim? I don't understand. It's mad, bro. It's crazy. Let me ask you a question. How did Muhammad go? Do you believe Muhammad rode a space donkey into the heavens and then he met he met Moses and Allah and he was arguing with Allah about prayers.
Yes.
And then he rode the space donkey to Al-Aqsa Mosque, which wasn't even built.
Come on, man. Come on, man.
Preserved in our literature, right? You can have a conversation afterwards.